Good morning, Indian Hills. Dr. Christensen here with your Monday message. This week, we are going to be getting ready for our Race into Reading academic booster. We're still continuing to do our Grow booster, and I'll talk about that in a second. But right now, to do the Race into Reading booster, everybody needs a reading book. So you have the next couple days to make sure you have a reading book. We're going to start the booster on Thursday with a scavenger hunt, and then we'll start to do kind of a race where the teams are competing with number of pages read, and there will be some pretty good rewards for the winners, because if you ain't first, you're last. Great quote there if you don't know what I'm talking about. So for the most part, Tiger Time is always the first 30 minutes that you're in Tiger Time. So if you have first lunch, then when you come back, you have Tiger Time for 30 minutes. When the bell rings, you have Encore. If you have second lunch, you start with Tiger Time. You go to lunch, you come back, and you have Encore. If you have third lunch, you do Tiger Time. The bell rings, you go to Encore. And then when the bell rings, you go to lunch. So if you followed all that, Tiger Time is always first, followed by Encore. And we've been trying to be really clear with what you do on each one. Each is 30 minutes each, 30 minutes in length. Monday, we're going to look for a book for Race into Reading. We're going to have a self-regulation lesson, and it will be a math encore. So first, self-regulation. Second part, encore part, is math. Tuesday, we're going to start working on personality traits. You're going to take the test. And then when you get to encore, it's English. On Wednesday, you're going to learn about each of the personality traits and learn about your personality trait. And then you'll have electives for encore. On Thursday, you're going to start your reading scavenger hunt for the Race into Reading race, and then you'll have a social studies for Encore. Friday, you do not have school. All right, I've been talking about mindfulness, and yes, last week I talked about how breathing is so important in mindfulness, and I still have one more other mindfulness lesson to go. But before we do that, I talked with you about how I was going to talk about how happiness actually means. So if we go into a philosophical discussion about happiness, there's a philosophical concept called utilitarianism. And utilitarianism believes that actions are right and useful if they benefit the majority. And anything that's considered useful actually creates happiness. And happiness for yourself and happiness for others, and that it does no harm to others. So the concept of happiness is really rooted around doing things that please us, but that also are benefit to others and don't cause harm to others. So at first you think, well, I'm just going to eat as much as I want. I'm going to sleep as much as I want. I'm going to just watch TV as much as I want. I'm going to do video games as much as I want. And then you start to say, after you've done it too much, after you've eaten so much, do you really feel good? Does it really make you feel good? Or do you really feel happiness by eating food that makes you feel good, like real food? What really makes us feel happy? Is it really just playing video games mindlessly for hours and hours? Or is it the relationships you have when you're playing those games with others? Is it actually getting out and spending time with others? Does that make us really feel happiness? Real happiness is learning. That's part of why we like video games, is it's learning. But real happiness is we get from learning and feeling that we've done something, that we've learned something. Real happiness is in work and that we've accomplished something. So I want you to really think about, what does real happiness mean? And how real happiness also means doing something for others. So we use an example of ice cream. If I'm going to pick ice cream, I'm going to pick the ice cream that I like the best, and that makes me happy. But if I eat it all the time and I eat it until I throw up, I'm no longer happy. If I actually, though, see somebody who doesn't ever get to have ice cream, and I'm able to give them ice cream and see the joy on their face, I've now actually created happiness for them, but I am the one who actually benefited even more than the people that I gave the ice cream to. That's one way to think about it. So, where does the word utilitarianism come from? That's the word utility. So, a utility is something else that brings us happiness that we never even think about. So, let's think about running water. Let's think about heat. Let's think about sidewalks. Let's think about trails, parks, stoplights. All of those things are utilities, and they're utilities because they bring happiness to a lot of people and they make us be safe. So it brings benefit to everybody. So the next time you're riding down a trail and you're looking around at the park or the pathway, that utility that we've created is bringing us joy. When you can get into a nice warm shower, that's a utility that's bringing us happiness. If you go to most other countries, you cannot take a hot shower as long as you want. You have like 5 minutes and it turns off. And if it's hot, that's another thing. It's probably not. A lot of places you can't flush the toilet. Instead, you're going to the bathroom in a hole. I'm serious. Like most countries do not have the utility that we have. So taking some time to realize the things that we have that can bring us joy are around us all over the place, and education is the largest utility, the most important utility. That if you can find how it brings you joy, it will give you happiness back 10 times over. So I just want you to kind of think about, what does happiness mean? It's bigger than just me getting what I want. It's bigger than that. It benefits everybody and myself within the same time. All right, here, the doctor is done talking about philosophy of happiness. And have a great week. Go Tigers!